stuff, like we want to do with our platform, at least you need to know what you have. But at the same time, we also find that procurement, the acquisition of used and recycled materials, in most sectors is still quite poorly organized. A couple of exceptions here and there. For example, scrap steel is really well organized. It's very old, also it's very old industry. At the same time, this is being compounded by lack of readily available storage and logistics, lack of certification and warranties, especially if you're building a building, you want to make sure that all the certificates are in place and that there are some warranties in place as well. You probably need it because of how those buildings are being financed. And I think in general, companies aren't incentivized to really adopt certain common principles throughout their business practices. Now, what we have done is build our platform and our services around those challenges. But I think it's important to note that I think these are also things that basically everyone could or perhaps should adopt to make the circular economy a reality. And key there, and luckily the EU has been listening, is resources passports. Is understanding what waste and what material flows are out there and store them in a way that is useful for a potential next user. The passports themselves pose a bit of a challenge because, as I said, none of this data is there yet. It's typically, if you're lucky, it is structured data, so it's stored in some format. But in most cases, it is unstructured data in each company in different locations, in different formats. And if it's digital, you're very lucky. So what we've done, and I think that's a great thing of this day and age, is that we use AI to make basically the ingestion or the uploading of data a lot easier. Now, knowing what you have is important, but also knowing where it is, so that's the tracking and tracing bit, and where it has been, is equally as important, especially for quality assurance and quality control purposes. And what I find is actually quite interesting about this, I find it exciting, but when I say this word after exciting, you're like, what's up with this guy? Is that when you know what you have, you know where it is, you can insure it. So, there it is. I said insurance and excitement in one sentence. However, it's important, right? Because one of the barriers is warranties and certificates. And the insurance bit actually plays a really big role in de-risking the transactions that take place through our platform. In fact, the insurance packages themselves make the platform a sort of like a platform of choice for people to transact stuff, even if they've already found each other, because of the level of comfort that the insurance offers. The other bit where we use AI is in the matchmaking, and this is kind of interesting as well, because when we started this platform 7 years ago, a lot of organizations that we spoke with said, we've tried this many years ago, and it didn't succeed. I actually even learned during the break that there is a platform like this in Croatia, managed by the Chamber of Commerce, which I believe by 9 companies. And I think the reason why in the past a lot of these platforms have failed, and I'm not sure about the one that's being run in Croatia, is that the cost of transactions is just too high, because it takes people, and people in general are expensive. And again, AI comes to the rescue, because what it allows us to do is to identify matches at a scale and at a sort of at a speed which we as humans wouldn't be able to do. So that's where our dating side really comes into play, where the AI help us in making matches happen. Which, to be honest, doesn't work very different from how Netflix or Amazon suggests new products to you as a user. One thing that we also learned, though, is that robots have a role to play in the circular economy, but it's still very much the domain of humans, especially when you have to make transactions. So what we've also done is two things: is to build marketplaces or allow our users to create marketplaces, but also to create auctions. And auctions they play a role need for you to get rid of it. Where if a new couch comes in, if a new washing machine comes in, the old one has to go. And the auctions play a role in facilitating that process. And so, to make it very practical, I just want to show you what that looks like. So this is a passport for a capping layer at an IKEA in London. So the capping layer is just signed. And it shows a bit how it can be used for everything, basically. And obviously you can't stick a label on the stand, but you can add it to a shipping manifest. And what it does is it provides all the information necessary for different users to understand, hey, this is a capping layer, this can still be used as a capping layer because it has a certificate for that. And in doing so, you avoid this material being downcycled, which is a lot of material, right? The passports. Then, to make it easier to upload stuff, this is a different example. We make use of all sorts of different tools that AI provides us with. And basically what happens if you upload something, it goes through this process where the AI will ask you a number of questions, and each answer will become a tag, which will then be attached to that passport. And those tags you can see here to the top right will then be the starting point of these recommendations that are being made. It looks at materials, it looks at what it's used for, what are the functionalities, which components are in there, and then also looks at what it can see in this image. And this image is taken at Oslo Airport. What we also do is add all sorts of different tags. This is a QR code, very low tech, nothing can go wrong with that. What it does is it allows you to track materials at a very detailed level, which I'll show you some more example later, has big ramifications. And what that does, once you have those tags, the platform itself will suggest new users for it. And what we've also done, this is our first step in this domain, it's all part of this process, is to qualify the significance of environmental, social, and financial impact. So that's basically the ESG bit, and also look at how well it scores from a reuse hierarchy point of view. And then we have marketplaces and auctions, which of course I'm sure you're pretty familiar with, but that's where everything comes together, and that's where the transactions take place. And especially the auctions, which was a bit of an experiment from us last year, turned out to be a very effective place for these transactions to actually happen. This is just a selection of the companies that we work with. Just to let you know that we work with big organizations in different industries and sectors. And that's also kind of interesting if the platform allows you to make matches in between different sectors and industries, and we basically put materials back into the center of the decision-making process again. And we uncover that these materials may have hidden emissions. We work with Održivom, which is an organization that uses a lot of rail tracks, and we worked a lot with Architectsy, who we have a speaker here as well from that same organization, that saw that and then designed a bicycle storage facility made out of those used rail tracks. So then with minimal manipulation, you extend the life cycle of those products at minimum impact and actually maximize value. We want some awards, I'll skip over that as well. But a couple of examples I want to highlight. So we work at ABB. ABB, they make a lot of circuit breakers and switch gears, actually e-waste, but at a massive scale. And also their sales are ramping up as we're electrifying everything. We need more of their products. And every time those circuit breakers reach end of life, they come to us, and then we actually do a reverse auction for the stuff coming out of it, which is copper, steel, but also components. Components can be reused again because they haven't failed yet and can be put in another machine. We also work with grid operators like Tenet, and they have even bigger stuff that can be reused, like transformation houses. Or one of the projects that we looked at has I think it was 250 tons of copper in it, which of course has a great use. I mean, this would certainly not have gone to waste in a linear economy because there's a very mature recycling market for it, but if you can look at it from a component level, the applications are much greater, the impact much lower, and the financial gain is significantly higher.